guys, welcome back to another episode of Sister, a podcast for spiritual baddies. We are your hosts, El and Amaya, and today we're going to be talking about past lives and present purpose. And I will say, I pretty much put this episode together. There's like a lot. I did a deep dive with the internet, long story short, but I did my best to keep it really relevant and niche to what we try to focus on here, and especially in this season's theme of social justice and advocacy.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Hi, so Elle, tell us a little bit about past life theory.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with what exactly it is and kind of talking about reincarnation. So at its core, past life theory is when the soul undergoes multiple lifetimes, each characterized by unique experiences and lessons. And the soul kind of passes through different bodies, times, and circumstances. The idea of past lives is commonly associated with certain spiritual and religious traditions, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and certain New Age beliefs. Proponents of the concept often believe that past lives can be accessed through techniques such as past life regression, meditation, or psychic readings. People who believe in reincarnation think that past lives can leave memories or feelings that subtly shape our current life. Even physical body features can be passed on from one life to another. These memories are thought to be stored in the subconscious mind and might show up in dreams, moments of deja vu, or even in fears or likes we can't explain. Although the idea of past lives isn't scientifically proven, it fascinates many people who want to understand the deeper mysteries of life. The idea of past lives isn't backed by science, but it still is going to kind of bring that intrigue and for people who kind of want to explore the life's biggest mystery. Over time, many stories and personal accounts of past life memories have surfaced, keeping the conversation about reincarnation alive. Whether seen as a matter of faith, philosophy, or personal belief, the theory of past lives invites us to think about consciousness, identity, and the soul's ongoing journey. Dr. Ian Stevenson, 1918 to 2007, was a Canadian parapsychologist and reincarnation researcher at the University of Virginia. He is best known for research into cases he considered suggestive of reincarnation. Over his 40 years of international research, he amassed 3,000 cases of children who claimed to remember past lives. He conducted extensive studies on children claiming past life memories and documented numerous cases where their birthmarks or birth defects corresponded to injuries or marks on deceased individuals they purportedly remembered being.
So, to make that a long story short, basically, Dr. Stevenson studied these children, and he was well known for this in his research in reincarnation. He studied children, especially those who, claim to remember past lives. And oftentimes you'll see videos of young children, especially now with TikTok being accessible. People will post videos of their children just, saying kind of weird stuff that's like, oh, in my past life, I did this, I was this person, oh, I remember who this person was, whatever the case may be. And, it's really something that is truly interesting. I think that we all, in some way, shape, or form, probably have some kind of recollection of our past lives. A lot of times that could be in the shape of like our birthmarks. Like, for example, I have a birthmark in the shape of a heart, which is really weird. I mean, there are even theories that some of your birthmarks can represent how you passed in a past life, if that makes sense.
Well, the
So,
birthmark that I have is right in the back of my hairline, and I am convinced that that's true because there was no reason for me to have a birthmark there. And yeah, it kind of looks like a pew pew wound.
oh, yeah. I mean, I have a few questionable birthmarks as well. I mean, this one I just find interesting because it's like a shape of a heart. Like I don't really wouldn't know what it means, but sometimes I do have those deja vu moments that it's like I feel like I've been here before, or like even like sometimes my dreams, like I'll have a dream about something random, and then a couple weeks later it'll happen. I'm like, hello, like what is going on? So to keep this conversation going, we're going to talk about some signs that you may have past lives. So I'll go through the first four. So the most common one is deja vu. As I mentioned, most of us have felt that strange sense that we've experienced something before. Psychologist Arthur Funkhauser explains it in three ways. So there's deja vu or vécu, excuse me, deja vécu, which is feeling like you lived through a moment before, which is what I just mentioned. Deja senti, which is recognizing a feeling triggered by a sound, smell, or something else. And then deja visite, which is feeling like you've been somewhere familiar, even though you haven't. While scientists say deja vu is linked to brain activity, some believe it could be memories from a past life. Number two is unusual memories. Imagine a child recalling events that never happened in their current life. Could it be imagination, faulty memory, or a glimpse into a past life? Believers suggest looking for specific details like locations or landmarks to see if they match real places. Number three, dreams and nightmares. Recurring dreams or nightmares might be also signs of past life memories. Dreams about everyday life in unknown settings could hint at a past location, while people in your dreams might have been connected to you in another life. Nightmares, on the other hand, might reflect past life traumas. Fears and phobias. Irrational fears like being afraid of water or mirrors might not make sense in this life, but could be linked to past life experiences. For example, a fear of water might stem from a drowning incident in a previous life. And that's so crazy because my mom has a huge fear of the ocean. So this literally makes so much sense.
So the next is an affinity for unfamiliar cultures. Do you feel drawn to a particular culture even though it's not part of your upbringing? This could be more than just an interest. It might reflect a connection to past life in that culture. Passions is the next one. Strong, almost irresistible passions like spending hours woodworking or collecting maps might point to skills or interests from a past life. Uncontrollable habits or obsessions like hoarding or compulsive behaviors could have roots in past lives. While there are psychological explanations, some believe that these tendencies may carry over from previous experiences. Inexplicable pain. If you have aches and pains that doctors can't explain, some believe these could be linked to physical injuries or trauma from a past life. And then birthmarks. Some see birthmarks as clues to past lives. One famous case involved a boy with chest birthmarks matching wounds from a man who had been fatally shot. While skeptics call it coincidence, believers see it as evidence of reincarnation.
So, now we're going to talk a little bit more about children who report memories of past lives. So, some children, usually between the ages of 2 and 5, speak about memories of a previous life they claim to have lived. At the same time, they often show behaviors such as phobias or preferences that are unusual within the context of their particular family and cannot be explained by any current life events. In many cases, the child's statements correspond accurately to the life and death of a deceased individual. Some children have birthmarks or defects congruent with wounds or marks on the deceased person, using post mortem reports to confirm. Older children may retain these apparent memories, but they generally seem to fade around the age of 7. So, This article that I'm about to talk about was about Dr. Stevenson from the Virginia magazine that is published at the University of Virginia. So, Dr. Jim B. Tucker's research basically, in addition to Dr. Stevenson's research, basically talks about children's claims of past life memories. So, key points include the case study of Ryan Hammonds. So, basically, at 4 years old, Ryan began experiencing night terrors and claimed to have memories of a past life in Hollywood, recalling specific events such as a big white house, a swimming pool, and having 3 sons. He later identified himself in the 1930s movie Still from Night After Night, pointing to an actor he believed was him in a previous life. So, the focus of this research was basically where Dr. Tucker investigated cases where children were typically between the ages of 2 and 6 and provided detailed accounts of past lives. And some of these accounts are really specific, so much so that they can be traced back to actual individuals who died years before, often unknown to the child's family. And from a scientific perspective, Dr. Tucker suggests that quantum physics, which explores the behavior of nature's smallest particles, may offer insights to the possibility of reincarnations, and he poses that consciousness could play a fundamental role in the world, in the physical world, which is a view shared by some physicists, I cannot talk, academic context. So basically, despite the controversial nature of his work, Dr. Tucker's research has not sparked significant debate within the scientific community, and his investigations basically build upon Dr. Ian Stevenson, which was his predecessor, who compiled over 2,500 cases of children reporting past life memories. And in Dr. Tucker's book, Return to Life, he basically explores more about these children recalling past lives and explores the intersection of these phenomena with concepts of quantum mechanics. So, basically, this is a really big and interesting thing going on at the University of Virginia. You can definitely learn more using the links that we provide in our description boxes. So that way you can read a lot more about the article, Dr. Stevenson, as well as Dr. Tucker.
So we're gonna do some statement examples that like often come from kids throughout this like study of them, which I've actually looked into this specific like work from the University of Virginia before because I just find it interesting. So they can include "you're not my mommy or daddy" or "I have another mommy or daddy." When I was big, I used to have blue eyes, have a car, work downtown, etc. That happened before I was in mommy's tummy. I have a wife slash husband slash children. I used to, and then this could be like driving a truck or living in another town, whatever. I died, however, in a car accident after I fell, whatever it may be. Remember when I lived in another house, was your dad, etc. So there's definitely some things that can kind of like put the alarm bells off. So we're going to go into connecting dreams and past life theory. So some people believe that dreams might be glimpses of memories from past lives based on the idea that the soul's journey continues over time. They suggest that when we sleep and our conscious mind rests, the subconscious might tap into past life memories stored within the soul. While there's no scientific proof linking dreams to past lives, many people share stories of vivid or recurring dreams with historical or cultural details they've never encountered in their current life. These dreams often inspire people to reflect deeply and explore the possibility of connections to past life. Even without scientific backing, the idea that dreams reflect past lives carries cultural and spiritual meaning for many. Across various traditions, dreams are seen as windows into the subconscious, offering insight into the connection between past, present, and future. From a psychological perspective, dreams help us process emotions, store memories, and solve problems. They often pull from our past experiences and influences. However, saying dreams only come from past life memories doesn't fully consider how complex the mind and memory are. And we will be talking about dreams for the last episode of this, which I didn't do any past life stuff because I knew we were doing this episode, but I did talk a lot about different parts of dreams and psychology behind it.
So now we're going to go a little into understanding past lives and present influences, and basically how energy, relationships, and ailments reveal your soul's journey. So the existence of past lives and an afterlife is undeniable, and this has nothing to do with like religion, God, or concepts of heaven and hell. Basically, it all ties back to energy, and even those who align with science can't refute the basic truth of energy's permanence. In fact, the law of conservation of energy in physics states quite plainly that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it only changes. And with this in mind, the energy of the human body, also known as the soul, must change at death. It does not cease to exist and it merely changes forms. So, have you ever seen someone and felt as if you already knew them? That's basically not a coincidence, and deja vu isn't just a cliche. These moments are your soul trying to recall pieces of past lives essential to your current lessons, and a central theme that runs through everyone's life. If you're curious about your own life central theme, you can explore it in several ways. So, first is dreams. Ask your spirits or guides for clarity before bed and journal what you remember upon wakening. Automatic writing. Write your question without hesitation, letting your intuition guide the answers. Meditation. In a meditative state, you can access profound answers, and guided part meditations can be particularly helpful. The next and last two are a little bit more specific. So the first one is past life regression therapy, which is powerful for uncovering in soul memories. This method involves guiding someone into a relaxed state to access deeper parts of their mind, which might reveal memories or feelings from past lives. Unlike regular therapy that focuses on current issues, regression therapy explores hidden memories from the past, which helps people uncover fears, traumas, or unresolved emotions. Supporters can say it can be a powerful tool for self discovery and healing, though it remains a controversial practice. However, some have claimed it helps them access past life memories. And the last one is intuitive exploration. So, basically, sometimes memories from past lives can come up spontaneously during day to day life. Try to pay attention to any strong emotions or feelings that may arise during a particular situation and explore where they may be coming from. For example, you may start to notice that your fears are actually connected to and stem from a past life experience. And we talked a little bit about understanding like how your triggers are related to past like traumas in the past, not specifically a past life, but something that happened in your childhood. There's also stuff that stems from a past life. Understanding your life's theme can transform how you handle relationships and challenges. So, for instance, individuals who cling to grief after losing loved ones often face a lesson in abandonment. If they approach this lesson from fear, you left me and I needed you, they'll remain trapped in that cycle. However, if you approach it with love and forgiveness, I release you and trust in our reconnection in the other, they free themselves from the karmic bond. Forgiveness is a deeply personal and transformative process, but it doesn't mean abandoning boundaries. So, by understanding your central life's theme and working through it, you can find greater harmony in your soul's journey. That was a lot to uncover. So, Elle, how do you, if you had to say, like, how do you think your past life was? I'm
Oh, I
curious.
know I had at least two. So the reason is one, that birthmark that I told you about. I've had dreams about dying that way. It was like a recurring thing in my childhood, and we could like never figure it out. Like, and I think that that specifically was my most recent past life because I was like a younger man, I would say like maybe slightly older than we are currently, so like 26, 27, whenever I died. And I very much so got the feeling that it was like World War II or like Vietnam War era. So that would have only been like 30, 40, maybe 50 years before I was born, realistically. And then the other one is I have this recurring dream, and I haven't ever been able to figure like out where I am or like who I'm related to, but I am running down like a set of servant stairs and I'm trying to like escape from something. Like it's just like this inner fear of fight or flight, and then like it just goes dark when I reach the bottom of the stairs and that's it. So,
Interesting. I haven't really remembered. I've had a few recurring dreams, but I definitely would need to do more work in figuring out like my past life. I'm definitely interested in seeing how like my past lives were. And I also found it interesting, and this was something I wanted to bring up before. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, like, I don't know if if it was the movie Boss Baby or if it was something else, but they basically, um, there was a movie. It was like a cartoon, and basically the babies. It had to be a Disney movie. I think it was Soul, actually. Now, if I remember correctly, like they basically show how when the souls created, like what they like, what they don't like, and they kind of like show as well like the past life, the future life. I want to say it was Soul, but I don't really remember. Like it had to be a Disney movie, but long story short, I just found it interesting that that's the way they chose to explain reincarnation. And then there's Inside Out that kind of explores different emotions. Like I feel like Disney just is so creative in the way they explain these kinds of phenomenons and break it down for children.
yeah, and like for me personally, I feel like my soul has been around longer than just those two. Like, I have a very weird obsession. I wouldn't call it weird, but I'm very intrigued by like Buddhism and Hinduism and have been since I was in like seventh grade. And I've never been able to explain it. There's never really been a reason for it. But I remember we had to like read a book and do a presentation of it, like, and parents were allowed to come and walk through the hallways. It was like a social studies project in seventh grade. And I wish I could remember the name of the book. I probably still have it on my bookshelf, not gonna lie. Um, but it was about a young girl who was Hindu and her experience growing up in poverty in India. And I just like ever since I read that, like it's been like that's just and there was no reason for me to pick that book either. Like there was a list of at least 80 books that we could pick from, and I was like, that one sounds cool. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's just little things that you can connect. And like I've known people that have gone through the like past life regression therapy. One of my actually like very close friends that comes into the shop regularly, she had done some of that, as well as like past life readings. And we had talked about it some because I'm someone that's always like fully been into like past life and reincarnation and whatnot. And she was like, yeah, I couldn't figure out why me and my son constantly always had arguments and everything. Well, come to find out, there was trauma there from a past life where he was someone, I don't want to say like a political figure, but like someone important wherever she was living. And he sentenced her to have her head chopped off at a guillotine.
That's so crazy. The other thing I find interesting is like how when you reincarnate, usually tend to reincarnate as somebody else, but you like it's like as if the souls always are together in every lifetime. They just reincarnate into different people, and in each lifetime, they're different like relationships. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Like I can only imagine. Like imagine if your mom in your past life, it's actually like your sister or like your teacher or God knows what. Like I
Yeah.
always wonder.
Well, and we probably will do an episode on this at some point, but the idea of like soul families and souls that travel together throughout time and space to incarnate together, it's kind of also like, the idea of soulmates. There is a more like in-depth view of like your true one soulmate, not necessarily your twin flame, but like your true one soulmate, where whenever you pass, you have to wait for them in like this garden is kind of the idea. And whenever they then pass, your souls merge together until you guys decide to incarnate again on this earth. So I feel like if you're in a relationship with someone and it feels like you've known them across multiple lifetimes, you probably have. Like, I think it's interesting to see the different like things that people have as theories whenever it comes to stuff like this, especially like romantic and also like soul family. But that's something we can do an episode on at some point. It's just very interesting to see the way that people view it.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, let's get right into the tarot time.
Okay, we got the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, that's a good card. Even though they're all good, they're not bad, but that one's my favorite.
So the Wheel of Fortune is basically going to tell us that your guides, your deities, your ancestors, whoever it may be, whoever you work with, are kind of pushing for things to go well for you. They are doing the things that are behind the scenes that aren't in the physical realm to kind of push your manifestations in. It's this idea that the wheels are always turning, even when you're not actively trying to. There are outside forces that are constantly moving things for you. And with the Wheel of Fortune, it usually tends to mean that there's quicker manifestation coming in, quicker changes in things. Things are very much so coming up quicker and quicker. And I think it's interesting that we get this card whenever with astrology, things are finally starting to level out. Mercury goes out of retrograde, things like that. Things are finally starting to move again.
Very, very interesting. So let's jump right into that astrology almanac.
So today the moon in Libra will trine with Pluto in Aquarius. Now is the time for your inner power to grow and help you to take control of making things happen with your passions. Tomorrow, Venus will go direct in the sign of Pisces. With Venus direct, the weight you've been feeling on your shoulders from personal baggage will start to lift, and you will be able to cultivate positivity in your personal relationships. There is also a Libra full moon tomorrow. Libra full moons are a time to clear out old issues in relationships. Paired with Venus going direct, this is the final karmic release when it comes to letting go of people who don't belong in your life. Those who your connections didn't falter with during the Venus retrograde will grow closer to you over this full moon period. Then on the 13th, the moon in Libra will square Mars in Cancer. This is a time of frustrations being high, but Mars being the planet of productivity, it's pushing you to use your frustrations productively. On the 16th, Mercury will re-enter Aries. This will help to bring plans full circle that may have gotten pushed to the back burner during Mercury retrograde. You'll finally be able to kind of take initiative on those things.
I like it. Picasso. That's all I gotta say. But long story short, thank you guys for tuning into another episode of Sister Sister. This isn't our last, but soon it will be until season 5. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at ss.spiritualpodcast, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell button to get notified when the next episode drops. And also make sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you know when the next episode drops. We love you guys and we hope to see you soon. We hope you're doing well. And until next time, peace out.
Bye, guys.